Treasure Hogs back again with another video. Got some information for you today that we have never heard talked about publicly. We know you're going to enjoy it. One of the keys to deciphering Forrest Fenn's poem is understanding that each stanza is highly important, and each stanza has its own theme. And you have to figure out what each stanza's theme is before you can go forward. So we're not going to do the first stanza. We did an entire video on the importance of the first stanza. So we are going to skip that one to where we know the first clue is. So let's start where begin it, where warm waters halt. One of the things you're going to notice as we walk through this is that each one of these themes revolve around something that is very important to Forrest Fenn, one of his passions, something that was an important part of his life. And anyone who has spent more than 3 seconds researching Forrest Fenn knows that one of his passions, even from a childhood, is fishing. He loved to fish, and he loved to fish for brown trout. So as we have discussed in our previous videos, the answer to the first clue is the New Mexico fishing regulations, which have to do with warm waters and trout waters. And the answer to the second clue is the record brown trout caught at Cooper's Alvado. Which brings us to the third stanza of the poem, where Forrest describes from there it's no place for the meek, which we have again discussed in our previous videos, that the no place for the meek is the Rio Chama, where he was fishing, the wild and scenic river. We know that Forrest loved the rivers. He loved the river bottoms. He loved to fish in them. He said his churches is in the mountains and on the river bottoms. The rivers were very important to him. And that is the theme of this stanza. It's all about the Chama. It's no place for the meek. Congress called it the wild and scenic river in 1988, the same year he got cancer. It also describes the end of where you put in. You put in below the Homer Brown. From there, it's no place for the meek. And then he goes on to describe the end of where you get out of the water, the end of where you put in. And he tells us that it's ever drawing nigh. It's a big sweeping left-hand turn where we get out. And he tells us, he even further describes that area that's the ever drawing nigh, the big sweeping left-hand turn. He tells you you don't have to paddle up the creek because the current's going to take you up. And then he even gives us further description. He lets us know that there's just heavy loads and water high. And common sense tells you as you go around the bend of the head here that the water is going to pile up. It's going to be deeper, and there's boulders there, which are the heavy loads. Which brings us to everyone's favorite stanza, the fourth stanza, which says, if you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease. He kind of gives it away right there. What's the theme of this stanza? Well, you've got to be high, you've got to be above, you've got to be looking down to be able to see the blaze. So what was one of Forrest's other favorite pastimes? What did he love to do? Well, he loved to fly. He enjoyed flying. That was one of his passions. It's one of the things that he loved to do. So that's the theme of this stanza, is he was flying. He was in his plane. He saw the blaze from above. He didn't take a radial, which is a pilot's term. We've talked about this before. So everything he's describing here he saw from his plane. He told you not to tarry scant with the marvel gaze, which are the man's eyes looking up into the heavens, looking at the constellations, which you'll need momentarily. And he also told him, just take the chest and go into peace and you can see the man's chest. So everything he's describing here is what he saw from his plane, the blaze, his special spot. There was never any doubt where he was going to hide that treasure. So we know he hid the treasure chest at the blaze. And now that we know where the blaze is, we need more detail. We need more directions. And this is what we get here from Forrest in this 5th stanza. He says, "So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek?" This is an important question. Why did Forrest have to leave? Why is it that he had to go and leave his gold behind, his trove, his treasure trove? And he says, the answer I already know. I've done it tired and I'm weak. We know the answer. The answer as to why he had to go. Well, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And we've covered this in other videos. But the theme here, the theme in this 5th stanza is really the root of the story. It's the fact that he got cancer. Because he started off, every time he told his story to somebody who wanted to interview him, he says, well, it all started in 1988 when I got diagnosed with terminal cancer. So the answer? So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to see? Well, we know that. The answer is he got cancer. He had to leave. And I think it's also important, for those of you who haven't seen the Saul video, you might be a little lost here, but that's okay. Just go back and watch it. The constellation Cancer is shaped like a Y. And as we come down the man's chest, of course, we come to the Y. I think it's also now an important time to point out what he's doing. He's driving. You know, if you'll remember back to the 3rd stanza about the Rio Chama, where he told you to put in, he's in a boat, right? Well, the 4th stanza, the perspective is from the air, from a plane. Well, the perspective from this stanza is in his vehicle, in his car. And how we know that is because what he says in the very last line. He said, I've done it tired, and now I'm weak. I've done it tired. He had 4 tires on his vehicle. He was tired, and now he's weak. This is where he gets out of the car. This is where he parked his vehicle to go hide the treasure. So the method of travel, we went from a boat to a plane to a car, and now we're on foot. There's the theme of the travel. You're now on foot. So hear me all and listen good, as we've described in our previous videos. When you get out of the car there, when you park at the Y, there is an echo there. The treasure hogs have heard that echo. It took us 3 search days to find that echo. We felt like idiots once we found it because it was right where Forrest said it was, right where you parked the car. So hear me all and listen good. There's an echo right there where you parked the car. And then the rest of this, we're not going to get into it. You can watch our Saul videos if you're interested in describing where this X is at. But the rest of this poem, your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. It's all about drawing an X on the map. That's the theme here. Forrest told us to read the poem like you're going to draw an X on the map. He said all the lines have to cross in the right spot. He felt like an architect drawing the poem, not writing, but drawing. So the theme of this last stanza is drawing an X on the map, telling us exactly where to go. And one final question that most of you should be asking right now that we've not answered is, why is the last stanza important to Forrest, besides putting an X on the map? What's important here to Forrest is the line where it says, if you are brave. Remember the constellation Cancer. Now remember the constellation Leo. Remember, Forrest is a Leo. And the line, the heading, the 166 degrees, is what connects Cancer to Leo, which is what connects this entire story. Is Forrest got cancer. That's why this stanza is important to Forrest, because it connects Cancer to Leo, or Cancer to Forrest. So once you understand how Forrest wrote this poem and the themes that are in each of the stanzas, it really helps you solve it. So I hope this helps you guys understand what Forrest was doing when he wrote the poem. Again, an amazing job that Forrest did. That's all for now. Till next time.